Welcome to Module 3B. Begin with the end in mind. This section of Module 3 is a brief informational guide to help you become acquainted with the idea of the essential question, sometimes called the big idea. I think back to the first time I heard about essential questions as pertaining to lesson plan and design, and I was frankly perplexed. Yes, I had heard of the philosophical, the life questions, but how could what we study in world languages address that deep level of thought? I kept asking myself, how can one question be at the base of a whole entire year of study? How could one question be broad enough that it could be answered at any point in time with a different perspective from whichever unit we were studying? And furthermore, how could an essential question help me design my unit? After years of practice, I finally get it. It helps me because it gives me the lens and the perspective for a unit of study. It also helped with the depth necessary for students' engagement in a unit of study. I find that if I think of the essential question as the overarching reason for everything that happens in my classroom, I can avoid distractions. I think of it as the thread which holds all chapters or units together. It also gives a deeper purpose for student study and use of language. For example, the essential question for this year's Level 3 and 4 honors class is, how does our past affect our present and mold our future? Essential questions are sometimes called the big idea. They may recur throughout one's life, or they may be key inquiries within a discipline, such as world languages, and thus needed for learning core content of a discipline. Let's take a look. The first essential question in learning is the heart of the issue itself. In some schools, the essential question may be delineated or understood. So, an essential question for an aeronautics magnet school or academy would be, what is our relationship with space? For a visual and performing arts school, what does it mean to be artistically literate? There could be many other ways of looking at the essential question, and it could be worded quite differently. It might also be that an essential question is understated and not explicit. Essential questions may also be key inquiries within a discipline, ideally based on a more overarching and general big idea. In a classroom, under the essential question, there are more pointed questions, sometimes called unit questions, guiding questions, core questions, or driving questions. These questions for a unit will be very married to the unit objective and assessment. As mentioned earlier, an essential question and its sub-questions can shift the focus so that the purpose of a linguistic and cultural task has a better defined outcome. Under the essential question, how do beliefs, ethics, or values influence different people's behaviors? Notice the difference in these unit or guiding questions. What are some of the most important holidays in Spain? Versus, which Spanish holiday would you like to participate in and why? These would be examples of unit sub-questions. Developing essential questions, especially for professionals who have not yet had an opportunity to be involved in such a task, can often take much time and effort, and not all essential questions are developed in the way that is mapped out here. However, many of you may find that these ideas resonate with you and that you will want to investigate these ideas further, for example, at your county office of education or when working within your professional learning communities. Ideally, Districts, sites, departments, teachers, students, all should be involved in the discussion of essential questions. For example, with student buy-in, the student will more readily be able to demonstrate understanding of concepts when applied to new situations. Again, it takes a lot of thought to develop really useful essential questions. So, if you're ready, think about what is important to know and do. What is at the heart of study? What is the core question on which study is based? What big ideas do I want my students to take with them to use in their lives? Versus, also important, what is nice to know and what is worth being familiar with? So, essential questions or big ideas are questions or ideas that help in planning. They should be designed to generate topics. This is one of the backward ideas. In the past, teachers typically decided what to teach, past tense, classroom vocabulary, a poem, etc., without thought about where the topic might come from or where it might end up. Beginning with an essential question, one may begin to reorganize curriculum based on engaging and thoughtful human questions that interest the student. This can help to awaken curiosity as well as create unity and flow to the year or years of study undertaken by the students. This is the end of Module 3B. In Module 3C, we will review how the standards are linked to the functional objective and the can-do statements.